Mr. Collins. Count 1. Excuse me. Count 1, which is felony murder. Predicate act is aggravated assault. I sentence you to life without the possibility of parole. Count 2, which is violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. I sentence you to 20 years consecutive to count 1. Count 3, violation of Street Gang and Terrorism and Prevention Act. I sentence you to 20 years consecutive to count 2. Count 10, hijacking motor vehicle. I sentence you to 20 years consecutive to count 3. Count 11, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. I sentence you to 20 years consecutive to count 10. Count 12, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. I sentence you to 20 years consecutive to count 11. Possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. I sentence you to 5 years consecutive to count 12. Count 14, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. I sentence you to 20 years consecutive to count 13. Count 15, which is a violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. I sentence you to 20 years consecutive to count 14. Mr. Collins, you have now been convicted of 15 felonies, but sentenced to 9 because 6 of them, by operation of law, either merge into the others or are vacated. I need to inform you, you have the right to seek post-judgment relief from your felony convictions by either filing a direct appeal to a higher appellate court or to file a motion for new trial. You have 30 days from the date I sign your sentence, which should be today or tomorrow, to file a motion for new trial to any or all of the felony charges. Mr. Clegg, are you going to file a motion for new trial and a notice of appeal?
I will file a motion for new trial within the next day or so, Your Honor. It will be a bare bones motion, as you well know. I would ask you to then appoint appellate counsel
Certainly.
on Mr. Collins' behalf so that he may preserve all of his possible remedies for appeal.
Certainly. Mr. Collins, you also have 4 years from the date your sentence is final to file a habeas corpus petition. And as Mr. Clegg requested, I will be appointing you an appellate lawyer. Your appellate attorney will explain these processes, but I wanted you to be aware of the time frames. Anything else, Mr. Clegg?
No, Your Honor, nothing else.
Okay, Mr. Collins can go with the deputies. Whoa, 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 whoa. The family of Mr. Coleman. The family of Mr. Coleman. The family of Mr. Coleman. Look at me. The family of Mr. Coleman. Honor Bradley Coleman here. Honor Bradley Coleman. He is never coming back. Nothing that happens in this courtroom is going to bring Bradley Coleman back.
So that, what you just saw, is a video clip from a recent sentencing hearing for 3 young black males for taking the life of another young black male back in 2022. That's when the shooting occurred, where a young brother named Bradley Coleman lost his life here in Georgia. And I'm going to get into who Bradley Coleman was. I'm going to get into what happened. But as you see in the thumbnail, the YNs must be stopped, man. We don't talk about this enough. We know who the culprits are. We know who is causing the most chaos in the black community on a day-to-day basis. We know who is the biggest threat to ending black life. We know that black people make up 13.5 to 14% of the nation's population, but 52% of all homicides and all victims of homicides. Over half of the homicides and half of the people who commit the homicides are black, and mostly young black males, like you just saw in that video. That's Miles Collins, who was just sentenced to life without parole for being involved in the slaying of an innocent black male who was just simply stopping to put some air in his tire at a gas station in Gwinnett County, Georgia, which is a very large suburban county of Atlanta, for those of y'all that's not familiar with the Atlanta area. As a native Atlantan, as many of you know, if you watch my content, Gwinnett County is a pretty decent suburb to live in. It's not perfect. It's not nearly as bad as the city of Atlanta or some of the other counties, but I mean, they do have a murder here and there, property crimes, theft, aggravated assault, armed robbery, typical crime like that. I mean, it's almost 1 million people, so you don't expect it to be crime free, but it's certainly a place that you would expect to be safer than a place like the city of Atlanta or some of the other more closer suburbs that are a little bit, more dangerous. But I want to get into what happened, and I want to get into who Bradley Coleman was, and I want to get into why this needs to be addressed way more than it is. And we've been talking about stopping the violence in the black community, and we got to do better for years and years and years and decades and decades and decades, and ain't nothing changed. And it's never going to change until black people make it change. That's a fact, especially strong black men. So Bradley Coleman was 29 years old at the time of his death. He was simply stopping at a gas station to put some air in his tire, and a group of young black males that I'll show you in a minute were, I guess, part of a gang. I don't know what the name of the gang was, but they wanted to take his car. They wanted to rob him, and one of them let off a round from their firearm, and it hit him in the head, and he was pronounced deceased at the scene. Bradley Coleman had 2 degrees from Southern University. He grew up in Gwinnett County, Georgia. He was an athlete growing up. He went back to Gwinnett County to work as a coach. He was very, very successful as a coach. So not only was this brother educated, he was also a coach. So he was a leader and a strong pillar in his community. Bradley Coleman was also a father of a little girl. And his daughter is having to grow up without a father because of these 3 thugs that decided they wanted to take his car. And like I said, I don't know if they were successful in stealing his car or not, but I do know that they took his life. And his daughter is a beautiful young woman, and she's going to have to grow up without her father because we have allowed these pookies to run wild in a city near you, in the suburbs as well. This was in the suburbs of Atlanta, not even in the heart of Atlanta. This is going down in the suburbs. And I think that at least 2 of them were sentenced to life plus 100 and something years. So they're not going to get out, no parole, as they should. For those of y'all that have watched my content before, I'm also a supporter of capital punishment in certain cases. I do believe that this case would have been appropriate for them to be sentenced to the ultimate punishment, but the judge, as we saw in that first clip, she didn't give that to them, but she did give them a very strong sentence in response to what they did to Mr. Coleman. And y'all saw his brother lash out when the young man said, I hope y'all happy. And they said, yeah, we happy because they're getting justice. Like, that's the ignorance and the buffoonery that we're dealing with. He gonna say, I hope y'all happy that you're getting life in prison. You shouldn't have took that man's life. And this is who these 3 demons are that took Mr. Coleman's life. So the first man that we see on the screen, David Gerard Booker, age 23. You can see he has a tattoo on his face. Well, actually a couple of them on his face. One up under his right eye. And At the time of the slaying, he was 23 years old. So this was 3 years ago, roughly, almost 3 years ago. So he'll be 26 this year. Miles Collins, that was the one that you saw in the video getting sentenced, talking about I hope y'all happy. He was 22 at the time of taking Mr. Coleman's life. And you see his tattoo on his face as well. I guess that's the same gang tattoo. And I'm going to be reading y'all most of the charges that they were found guilty of, that the Gwinnett County jury found them guilty of. And the last person, Josiah Hughley Jr., age 22. So at the time of Mr. Coleman's termination, these young men were aged between 22 and 23 years old. All of them finna go to prison. They're already in prison. This sentencing happened last month sometime. I just wanted to touch on this story because I've been wanting to touch on this story because it hits close to home. Count 1, felony murder, guilty. Count 2, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, guilty. Count 3, aggravated assault, guilty. Count 4, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, guilty. Count 5, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, guilty. Count 6, felony murder, guilty. Count 7, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, guilty. Count 8, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, guilty. Count 9, hijacking a motor vehicle, guilty. Count 10, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, guilty. Count 11, violation of Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, guilty. Count 12, possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, guilty. Okay? I think there were 15 total charges, and they were found guilty of all of them, as they should have been. And I'm not going to make the video too long. Count 13 is also violation of Street Gang Terrorism Prevention Act. So, like I said, Mr. Coleman, he was visiting Gwinnett County from New Orleans. He had moved to New Orleans, and he brought his daughter home to visit with his grandparents, his grandmother, which is Bradley Coleman's mother. She only had 2 sons, and now she's only down to 1 son. And the young man that was in the courtroom, who got emotional and lost his temper, which is completely justified, that was his surviving brother. I don't know his brother's name, but his brother has every right to be very, very angry and emotional over what these cowards did to his brother.
Certainly.
First witness we would call is Jeffrey Michael Coleman, the brother. Mr. Coleman, if you'll come forward, I'll need to place under.
Okay, so his name is Jeffrey Michael Coleman. That's the brother of Bradley Coleman, who passed away.
Statement that you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, sir. Thank you. Whatever you'd like to say.
I just want to let y'all know, man, Bradley Coleman, he was somebody, and he still is somebody.
And sir, I'm going to ask you direct it to me
All right.
in the courtroom. Thank you.
Y'all took my brother, my only brother. And it's only the legacy that my brother left that's stopping me from putting hands and feet on all 3 of y'all. I swear to God. I hate y'all.
Mr. Coleman.
I need you to address what you'd like to see in sentencing, and for everyone. Please do not address them.
Lock him up and throw away the key. That's it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
So that was just a 1 minute statement from the brother of the deceased Mr. Coleman. And I've been to one of these type of sentences before for my brother, who is in prison right now for committing a very violent crime. My brother's victims didn't pass away, so he'll be getting out. We just don't know when. And he is eligible for parole. But in this situation, the people who took his brother are not getting out, and they shouldn't get out because of what they did to his brother. And as you heard him say, excuse me, he just couldn't keep it together. The court, the judge said, "Hey, Mr. Coleman, what would you like for the sentencing to be?" That's basically what they asked. What do you think an appropriate sentence would be? And he said, "Lock him up, throw away the key. I hate y'all. I want to put hands and feet all over y'all." You see what I'm saying? My brother was somebody. You know what I'm saying? His brother was a good man. His brother was a productive member of society. He wasn't going around robbing people and taking people's lives and trying to take their cars. This man was a resident of Louisiana, coming to visit his mother. You bringing your mother's grandbaby and her son. You her son, and you got a daughter. So you bringing your legacy to visit grandma, and you didn't even get a chance to enjoy your visit home because some cowards took your life. And the reason why I'm making this video, and I'm gonna make more videos like this, my content is diverse. It ain't just about women. It ain't just about, ratchet or urban goofy stuff. I mean, I'm gonna do the fun goofy stuff too, but this is a very major problem in black society. And it's been a very major problem for a long time. And I talk about this with some of my black conservative brothers and sisters all the time about the black community and what goes on and why this goes on. And we have turned a blind eye to black violence for far too long. And it's going to take strong leadership to eradicate this. And I ain't going to get into everything that needs to happen on this video, but a lot of people were hurt behind this. And a young baby girl grows up, it's going to have to grow up without her father. And the point is, everybody in this country that has black skin, by the time you grow up into an adult, you're going to know somebody from your family or somebody else's family who had their life taken away prematurely by another black person, doing something totally stupid, doing something totally selfish, and doing something totally cowardly and straight up evil.
Yana, on behalf of the Coleman family, we would like to thank you for this opportunity to speak before your courts and to speak about our wonderful son, Bradley Coleman. To the jury, thank you so much. Besides learning of the murder of our son and having to address the courts and to stand before these guys that murdered our son, this has absolutely been the hardest thing that we've ever had to do in life. Your Honor, may I reintroduce to you who our dear son, Bradley Coleman, who he was. And how this senseless act of gun violence has affected my husband and I, his young daughter, our family, friends, and the community, and the world as a whole. Bradley was a wonderful man of God. He was a man of integrity. He was a man with a vision. He was born and raised right here in Gwinnett County. Bradley graduated from Norcross High School, where he played football and basketball. He earned a 4-year full scholarship to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He graduated from Southern with 2 degrees, one in education and the other one in interdisciplinary studies. As proud parents, Your Honor, Bradley was absolutely everything to us. He was a son that you would want. He was an awesome father, son, activist, coach, community leader, counselor, entrepreneur, humanitarian, a motivator, and an educator. Brad even taught children that transitioned out of the jail system back into society. He was impactful on and off the football field. He was just an ordinary guy that did extraordinary things, and he was loved and respected by so many. Bradley cherished his mother, his father, his daughter, his friends, his family, his students, and his student athletes.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap the video up. We're almost at the 20-minute mark. I said I was going to cut back on making these videos so long, but this video was something that's been on my heart to do, because when I watched the video clips from the news networks here in Georgia, I just, man, and I remember the incident when it happened. I remember hearing about a group of young black males taking the life of another black male at a Gwinnett County gas station. I remember that. The whole metro area remembered. It was a major story here. And it might not have made national headlines for obvious reasons. They're only going to play news stories like this around the whole nation when they know it's going to get a lot of ratings. And we hear stories like this all the time across the country, unfortunately, in a hood near you. And this, like I said, this wasn't even in the hood. But that was Bradley Coleman's mother. As you could tell, she was very choked up about the situation, describing who her son was. Y'all feel more than free to go to YouTube and just type in Bradley Coleman sentencing, and it'll pop up all the video clips of the young cowards who took his life. And it'll show different little clips of the mother talking, and what little the surviving brother said, Jeffrey Coleman, who had every right to be upset. And salute to his family, salute to the brother, salute to the mother, salute to the father, salute to his daughter, salute to everybody who's, trying to hold it together the best they can. Because as you heard his own mother say, this young man was a successful, productive brother. And a lot of our successful, productive brothers don't get the credit they deserve. And we always hear about black men ain't this, black men ain't that, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And here you had a good black man who was involved with his child, who had his child, and he was bringing his child home to Georgia to visit his mother, and these bastards took his life, trying to rob him for his car. The way they describing this young man, Bradley Coleman, shoot, the way they describing how good of a person was, he might have gave these little dudes $20 or $30 just to help them out. You know what I'm saying? But they want to rob and ultimately take somebody's life, and now they finna be in prison for life. And that's what they deserve at the very least. So I don't really have a whole lot more to say. Like I said, if y'all wanted to look up more information about the case and just read, you can read up on it, or you can watch video clips just like I did. And you can listen to his mother go into even more detail about who the young man was. Like I said, he was only 29 years old at the time of his death. He didn't even get to see 30 years old. Just for context, I just turned 40. When I turned 40, I was like, man, I made it, because I got a cousin that died at 39. And guess who took his life? Another black male. Right? My cousin died at 39. 4 years ago. Almost 4 years ago. Now, he wasn't, executed like that. It was a situation that could have been avoided, but he didn't die of natural causes. I ain't gonna get into everything that happened, but I'm just tired of the whole we got to do better. I'm tired of the whole stop the violence. No, we need to do something about it. We as masculine black men have to start getting involved in politics more. We have to start becoming judges. We have to start, and they said this young man was even mentoring former prisoners that was re-entering society. It don't get no better than that. This man was trying to help out convicts. He was trying to help out felons, people that was locked up getting out. This man was really a good dude. Never heard of him before this situation. Never knew who he was. But the reason why I was so upset about it was because this was one of the good ones. This wasn't just no shootout between Pookie and Ray Ray. This was one of the good brothers. This was one of the good ones. And these punks took a good one. But y'all like, y'all share, y'all subscribe. Like I said, feel free to look at more about this young man. And I'll see y'all on the next one.